Deep in a quiet bush, far from the noise of the village, there lay a large log of wood. It had been there for years. People walked past it every day. Some kicked it aside, others stepped over it. To everyone, it was just a useless piece of wood. But one wise old man knew something the others didn't, and what he did with that forgotten log would teach a young boy a lesson that would change his life forever. The story begins. One cool morning, a young boy named Daniel was walking through the bush with his grandfather. His grandfather was a quiet man. People in the village often said he was wise, but Daniel never really understood why. As they walked through the narrow path, Daniel suddenly stopped. "Grandpa, look at that," he said, pointing. Lying beside the path was a large, dusty log of wood, half buried in the ground. It looked old, rough, and forgotten. Daniel laughed. "Who would ever need something like this?" he said, as he kicked the log lightly with his foot. "To me, it looks completely useless." The old man looked at the log carefully. He walked around it slowly, touching the surface of the wood. Then he smiled. "My boy," the grandfather said softly, "nothing in this world is truly useless." Daniel frowned. "But Grandpa, it's just a log of wood lying in the bush." The old man turned to him and said something strange. "If you believe it has no value, then let's test it." The grandfather's challenge. The old man asked Daniel to carry the log to the marketplace. "But listen carefully," he said. "When you show the wood to people, do not say a single word. Just let them tell you what they think it is worth." Daniel thought the idea was funny. Still, he lifted the log onto his shoulder and walked toward the marketplace. As he entered the market, people stared at him. "Why is that boy carrying a log?" someone whispered. Daniel approached the first person he saw, a fruit seller arranging bananas on a wooden table. He simply held up the log. The fruit seller looked at it. He scratched his head and said, "Well, I could probably use it to support my fruit stand." He shrugged. "I'll give you 2 bananas for it." Daniel was surprised. 2 bananas for an ordinary dusty log of wood? He shook his head and returned to his grandfather. The second attempt. Daniel told his grandfather what happened. The old man nodded calmly. "Now take it to the carpenter's workshop," he said. Daniel walked across the village until he reached the small workshop where the carpenters worked. Wood chips covered the floor. The air smelled like fresh timber. He showed the log to one of the carpenters. The man looked at it more carefully this time. He knocked on the wood with his knuckles. He rubbed the surface and examined the grain. Then his eyes lit up slightly. "This is strong wood," the carpenter said. "I can use it to make furniture." He thought for a moment and said, "I'll give you $50 for it." Daniel's eyes widened. 2 bananas had suddenly turned into $50. He rushed back to his grandfather. The final test. The grandfather listened patiently. Then he said something that surprised Daniel again. "Now take the log to the antique shop in the city." Daniel was confused. "But Grandpa, why would an antique shop want this?" The old man simply smiled. "Go and see." So Daniel traveled to the city. After a long walk, he found a small antique shop filled with rare objects, old clocks, ancient furniture, and beautiful wooden carvings. Daniel placed the log on the shop owner's table. The man looked at it. At first, his face was calm, but then something changed. He leaned closer. He ran his fingers along the wood. Suddenly, his eyes widened with excitement. "Where did you get this?" he asked. Daniel stayed silent, remembering his grandfather's instructions. The shop owner stood up. "Young man, this is extremely rare wood. This type of wood is almost impossible to find today. I will pay you $5,000 for it." Daniel felt his heart pounding. 2 bananas, then $50, and now $5,000 for the same log. The powerful lesson. Daniel rushed back home. He told his grandfather everything that had happened. The old man smiled gently. "My boy," he said, "the log of wood never changed. It was the same log in the bush, the same log in the market, the same log in the city. What changed was the place where it was valued." Daniel stood quietly, thinking about the words. Then the grandfather continued, "Remember this lesson for the rest of your life. Sometimes people will look at you and think you are nothing. They may underestimate you. They may ignore your abilities. But that does not mean you have no value. It may simply mean you are in the wrong place." Final reflection. Many people spend their lives believing they are worthless only because they stayed in environments where their value was never recognized. The log in the bush was not useless. It was simply in the wrong place. And sometimes people are exactly the same. Moral of the story: never let the wrong environment determine your worth. If people cannot see your value, find the place where they will, because your true worth may be far greater than you think. Call to action. If this story inspired you, remember this: you are not worthless. You may simply be surrounded by people who cannot recognize your value. Subscribe to Limitless Life Tales for more powerful life stories that can change the way you see the world.